Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. Today's video is all about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and we've got another deck build guide for you. Now, we've already covered the Skull Servants, we've already covered Harpies. One of the other classics, of course, is none other than Blue Eyes himself. Now, as I said earlier in the other videos, I prefer the OG decks. So they're the decks I'm going to try and be covering on this channel, going to be going over the classic OG decks, the way you can build them, and hopefully make them relevant for Master Duel. And of course, if this is the type of content that you like, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the deck build. Now, Blue Eyes I quite like. I've never been much of a Blue Eyes player myself. This is actually one of the very first Blue Eyes decks I ever made. However, it works so well. It works way better than I actually thought it would. It is so easy to actually summon Blue Eyes with this deck. And of course, we are running 3 copies of the original Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, this deck is on the expensive side. A lot of ultra rares here, a lot of super rares as well. So I'll try to get the deck cost down a little bit. We're running 2 copies of Maiden of Blue Eyes. And when a card or effect targets this card, you get to special summon 1 Blue Eyes from your deck, hand, or graveyard. It doesn't matter, you're going to be getting a Blue Eyes out on the field. And if it's targeted for an attack, you can negate that attack and of course, again, summon a Blue Eyes. We are also running 2 copies of Protector with Eyes of Blue. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 light tuner from your hand. Or you can target 1 effect monster, it's probably the card you've just brought out, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes from your hand. Then we have the slightly better version, a Sage with Blue Eyes. This guy, if you normal summon him, you can add 1 level 1 light tuner from your deck to your hand. You can discard this card, then target 1 effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and special summon 1 Blue Eyes from your deck. Then we have 3 copies of the White Stone of Ancient. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was sent to the graveyard this turn, you can special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can also then banish this card from the graveyard and then return 1 Blue Eyes monster from the graveyard to your hand. We are also running 1 Maxi and 3 Ash Blossoms. I'm sure they don't need any explanation. Very overpowered. Most decks are running them currently. We're also running 2 copies of Alternative Blue Eyes. This card cannot be normal summoned, it must be special summoned by revealing 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. You can special summon only 1 Alternative White Dragon once per turn, and its name obviously becomes Blue Eyes. While on the field, once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And of course, that is partly why we're running 3 copies of the original Blue Eyes, because you can just straight up special summon this one just for having 1 in your hand. We are also running 2 copies of Dragon Spirit of White. When this card is summoned, you can target 1 of their spell or traps and banish it, which can be quite useful. You can also straight up swap him when on the field for a original Blue Eyes. Next up, we have 1 copy of Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. You can actually put this up to 2 or 3. I quite like this card actually. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 ritual or polymerization from the deck to your hand. During the end phase, you can add 1 level 8 or higher dragon monster from your deck to your hand. You can also banish this card from the graveyard, and all your dragon level 8 monsters or higher receive an extra 1,000 attack points. Next up, we have 1 copy of Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. This card cannot be targeted by card effects, and it can't be destroyed by card effects either. And of course, if this was summoned using a Blue Eyes, it means that when you declare an attack, you can change the battle position to as many of your opponent's monsters as possible. If you do, the attack and defense of those changed monsters becomes 0, and If you attack a defense position monster, you inflict piercing damage. It is an absolute nightmare. And then we have the pretty standard 1 Raigeki, 1 Swords of Revealing Light, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Polymerization, 1 Monster Reborn, and we also have a Dragon Shine. And with this, you can send 1 Dragon Monster from your deck to your graveyard. We have 2 copies of Return of the Dragon Lord, target 1 level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if a dragon monster you control would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this from the graveyard instead. Acts as a little bit of a shield. We then have 1 Lightning Storm, which is very good if we end up having to go second. We have 2 copies of Chaos Form. We also have 2 copies of Successor Soul. Very good for getting another Blue Eyes out. You can tribute 1 effect monster, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, send that to the graveyard, then special summon a Blue Eyes, or it says level 7 or higher normal monster from your hand. Then we have 1 copy of Ultimate Creature of Destruction. This card is actually ridiculously overpowered. You target 1 Blue Eyes monster you control this turn. That card is unaffected by card effects. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, any opponent's monster it battles is destroyed at the damage step. We also have 1 Solemn Judgment. And then we have 1 True Light. With this card out, your opponent cannot target a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zone with any card effect. But if this card, this face-up card, is removed from your zone and sent to the graveyard, destroy all of your monsters. So be careful with this one. You can only use 1 of these effects once per turn though. Once per turn, as this is a continuous trap card, you can special summon a Blue Eyes from your hand or your graveyard. Or you can set 1 spell or trap card that mentions Blue Eyes in the text. Next up, we have 1 Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, and of course Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which we'll see gameplay of. We have 1 Silver Dragon, which is actually really easy to get out. And then we have 2 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. We have 1 Thunder End Dragon. And of course, because we're running so many level 1 cards, we've also got Link Karibo in the deck. This guy has saved me a lot of times. And then we have a Relinquished Anima too. You can actually have a lot of fun with this extra deck. There's a few extra cards you could probably put in and tweak. And of course, when it comes to building your deck, every deck can be customized to fit you. So if there's a particular card that you like, you know, that you think is better than any of these cards currently in this deck, of course you can tweak it. You can tweak every deck in the game, really. It really is about you, the player, and what you feel comfortable with and the cards that you know. Personally, I've really enjoyed this deck. It works really well. Bringing out Blue Eyes is absolutely no problem. You can literally flood the field with Blue Eyes. And I think it's got enough removal in it as well to kind of take care of that back row, take care of any beasties that perhaps they actually bring out that maybe your Blue Eyes can't handle. And of course, if necessary, you do also have an extremely good extra deck. As I said, at the end of this video, you will see Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in action. I actually had a lot of fun. I think I made a couple of mistakes during this duel as well, but yeah, I still come out on top and it still works really well. As you can see, he just took care of my field then, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? But very quickly, I'm able to come back with the cards that I drew and come back on top very, very well as well. Link Karibo has to be one of my favorite Link cards in the game, though. The guy is brilliant. He does a great job at protecting other cards as well, especially as a lot of people don't actually know what Link Karibo can do. Obviously, he protects you from battle. He can turn any attacking monster to 0 attack. I mean, he does send him to the graveyard, but of course, because this deck has so many level 1 cards, you can constantly get Link Karibo out. If you have him in the extra deck, you put him onto the field. Once he's on the field, he's in the graveyard, and from the graveyard he can just keep rinse and repeating with all of the level 1 cards that you can get out. best thing about this deck as well is that all those level 1 cards that you're going to be bringing out, they 9 times out of 10 have an effect where if they get sent to the graveyard, that benefits you. So Link Karibo just really helps kind of get the ball rolling. Now we're playing in gold tier. It's not platinum tier. I've been experimenting with a lot of different decks this season, so I haven't gone into platinum this season. But this deck stood up against anything that I did actually manage to face. Like I said, this is one of the first Blue Eyes decks I've actually made up. And I was surprised with just how well it actually worked. But let me know down in the comments, guys, if you have any tweaks or any suggestions for this deck. I know that Blue Eyes is incredibly well played. It's one of the most beloved decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! It still sees heavy support. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, let me know down below. And when I realised I was actually up against a Pendulum deck, I was a little bit worried. I thought perhaps I was actually going to lose this one. But like I said, this ended up being quite a fun little duel. Overpowering my standard Blue Eyes just didn't seem to be that much of a problem for this deck, making use of the XYZs. So I really had to step it up. And like I said, for a second, I thought that I may actually lose, but that's what I really like about this deck. You know, if they give you a chance, if they don't finish you off, you can really make a comeback. And of course, I'm sitting there with all these Blue Eyes in my hand, and I'm like, oh no, how can I get them out? You know, standard Yu-Gi-Oh player, you might not be able to get them out, but I got a little bit lucky. Never count out a Blue Eyes deck. That's what I say. Anytime I see a Blue Eyes deck, I know that they are played so much. And when I play a Harpies deck or a Skull Servant deck, Exodia, whatever I play, I'm never too scared of a Blue Eyes. However, I do know just how powerful and brutal they can be. So yeah, I never count out a Blue Eyes deck. And we got extremely lucky with that draw. When we got polymerization and we were able to bring the third Blue Eyes to my hand, I mean, heart of the cards, you know what I mean? That was just a brilliant, brilliant duel. It's actually one of my favorite, like, make or break draws I think I've ever had right here recorded. When I drew that polymerization, I mean, even if I didn't get that third Blue Eyes, I would have been able to get out Twin Burst, which would have been able to save me anyway. But getting that third one was just very, very sweet. But that is my deck build and gameplay, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions or requests on future deck builds, don't forget to drop that down in the comments. And of course, if you've enjoyed what you watched, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, happy dueling.